don't want to live in this world how it is anymore. Not that I ever did. For like the last couple months, I've been working on my sleeping and really getting in tune with my natural body rhythm and my intuition, and eating when my body tells me to eat, grounding when my body tells me to ground, sleeping when my body tells me to sleep. And my sleep schedule changes from day to day, but it's usually around the same, where like in increments, like usually like I'll wake up around 3 or 4 a.m. and then I'll stay awake, and sometimes I'll take a nap in between that period for like an hour or two, and then yeah, like I'll wake up and then I'll do stuff around the house, and then usually like around 2 or 3, between 2 to 6 p.m. usually is when I start feeling tired, and it varies, right, from 2 to 6 p.m. and then I'll go and take a nap. And then usually when I either take a nap for however long my body needs, or sometimes I'll go into a full sleep and I won't wake up until like midnight, 1 or 2 or 3, and then the process starts over. But it changes day to day depending on my energy levels and like what I'm doing, and if I'm bleeding and stuff like that. The last 2 days, my mom asked me if I could watch my sister take her to school, and I was like, yeah, of course. But it's thrown off my natural body rhythm that I've been building, and I'm so exhausted. And it honestly, I was even questioning myself a little bit this morning, because I was kind of like, it is slightly ridiculous how exhausted I feel just for 2 days of taking my sister to school. And I was doing parenting care my whole life for my sisters, right? I was running on pure exhaustion my whole life. And now that I know what my regulated natural body rhythm feels like, it is so much more apparent how they control us with these systems. And every system is set up, like the work days, the school days. There is no need for children to go to school for 8 hours a day learning stupid shit that doesn't matter, that plays back into this system. Our jobs, they just train us. They literally are conditioning us from young ages. And like, yes, I knew this, but now that I felt how my body feels when it's natural, it's like I can't unsee that and unfeel that. And there's no way for me to go back into the matrix knowing how my body feels and how regulated I am when I'm in my natural rhythm. And even just taking my sister to picking her up from school and caring for her, after school and doing stuff like that. Like, the care is not what it is, but it's the schedule, like waking up early, getting her ready for school, picking her up in the middle of the day where I normally would be sleeping, and stuff like that, and like they just literally keep us so dysregulated, and our nervous system's so dysregulated, so that we stay in these systems. And recently I've been, like, there are some days where I'm so grounded and so confident in what I'm doing, and then there's those mornings where my trauma seeps back in and my old identities are trying to grab a hold of me as I'm making safety in this new timeline that I've established, right? I'm creating my own safety. And I see everything that I've always seen before. But I was so disassociated from my body, and how, the system tells you there's no other way. You have to go with the world that they've created. And so I thought there was no other way to live and to like be safe and not be homeless. And I think that's honestly like where my fear of the cold is coming from, is security based. Like, if I don't have a roof over my head, like with the eviction process, if I don't have a roof over my head, over my cat's head, we're just gonna freeze to death. And I think I have this thing with the cold. I talked about this the other day, but my mom had me when she was 14. And my thing with the cold is it's very primal. Like, it's a body response. Like, I talked about this before, but like when it's cold outside, I literally am so uncomfortable and my body will shake. Like, and I have such a fear of being cold. And if I'm cold, you can't sleep and stuff like that. Like, but it wrecks me in a different way where like it's really hard for me to like get over the fact, like, it's literally the sun is out and it's like still cold and I'm like literally crouched by the fire and my space heater, like sweating, but my body is cold on the inside. I don't know how to explain it. I feel like it's something spiritual, like some trauma I'm working through on a primal somatic way that my brain doesn't have words for. Because when you're an infant and you're a baby, I don't know if anybody's ever done research on like how they try to like study memory or whatever, but they say that like since babies don't have language and stuff like that, they don't have the language yet, they remember things in pictures. And like also our body remembers things, so like things that happen to us since we were an infant, but our brain doesn't have the memories. Our body remembers. And so like there's so much, like we don't know how we were treated when we were infants, or like what was going on or what trauma we went through. And I feel like right now what I'm working through is a lot of that somatic stuff, because who knows, my mom was 14 learning how to be a mother when she was a child. Like, who knows what we both endured during that time of my infancy to toddler years, you know what I mean? And she said like we were homeless in Colorado and we lived in an abandoned house and stuff, and my mom had a really rough upbringing. But anyways, I started spiraling and I was like, there's been like people mentioning like, oh, maybe you can get a job, and like I feel like crying. I don't want to get a job. And it's like, and it's not that I couldn't find a job that I don't like to do, because I love helping people. And it's not about the job. It's about these fucking systems. If we just were able to follow our dreams, and like learn what we actually were invested in learning, and not because there's money involved or all these things, we would have doctors. We would have all the doctors would be a doctor, not for money, but because they care about people. Like imagine if we didn't get paid for jobs and our whole livelihood didn't depend on having a job or having health insurance or having the support. If it wasn't tied to a job and we were able to just do what we're passionate about, like vets who literally help animals to help animals, people who literally become doctors and study medicine to heal people, like real healers, like we used to have. And people who are passionate about cooking, make restaurants and stuff like that, and like imagine if we just had gardens everywhere, like you have a restaurant and you want to make a certain amount of food, like without the mass production and like food waste and stuff like that. And you just have, imagine like if you have a restaurant and then you have a garden in the same land and you use all the food from the land in your restaurant and you just feed people because you love feeding people, and not like, oh, if you don't have money, you don't deserve to eat. So like, yeah, I can go get a job, but it's not worth sacrificing my life. And I fuck these systems. Like, you know, like, even if I only inspire one other person to take autonomy back over their life, that's one more person that's not in the system. And maybe they'll inspire 1, 2 millions of people, and then they'll inspire more people, and that's how we make change. And like, as long as my sisters know that they don't have to live such a dysregulated life and follow things that have no meaning, like truly no meaning, then everything I'm going through is worth it. Because I'm not going to be a part of these systems anymore. I don't care if I have to live in my car. I don't care if me and my cats have to go live in nature somewhere, get tents, and if I have to be cold, I'll work through my cold trauma. But like, I'm not going to be without a home, because my home is my body. And as long as I can take care of my body and I know how, and I can nourish myself, like I just went. And the thing is, right, is like, I'm going to stop shopping at grocery stores, and I'm going to only find markets and like local farmers and stuff like that. Like, it's going to take me a while to be able to break away from all of these systems, and I'll find grocery shops that are owned by local people. You know, that we do have grocery shops like that, but like, I'm not shopping at these fucking places anymore. I literally am not doing any of these fucking systems. I'm not paying my car registration. I'm not paying my taxes. I'm not paying tickets. I got a ticket for not updating my address on my license for $400 because I didn't update, because I got pulled over, and the officer, he asked me, "Is this your current address?" And I said, "No." I didn't fix my address on my driver's license because I was leaving an abusive situation, and I didn't want to update anything. Not that, like, my ex at the time, we were going through a lot of stuff, and she's a private investigator, and I just wanted no documentation of where I'm going, because she knows how to do that. I'm not saying she's going to go and do something, but she wasn't acting like her rational self at the end of our breakup, and I just wanted to be away. I wanted nobody to be able to find me, you know? And I forgot about it. Who gives a fuck? You know what I mean? They're just tracking us. Our birth certificates are to track us. Our social security numbers are to track us and what we're doing. That has nothing to do with anything else. You know what I mean? And they are the criminals. The people who are up top inflicting all this shit on us are the criminals. Like, yeah, there's criminals walking around. Why do people steal? Why do people murder? Why do people do all this shit? Because of these systems. I'm not even joking. It's because of these systems, you know? Like, we probably, if we were able to live a conducive, I don't even know if that word makes sense, but if we were able to live a conducive lifestyle where our nervous systems are regulated, and we didn't have to fight, we didn't have to buy food, we didn't have to starve, be in scarcity, we didn't have to worry about if we had somewhere to fucking live, you know what I mean? If we healed all of these things, we wouldn't be raising children in these dysregulated systems. It's just so deep, and I'm just tired. And no, I'm not getting a job. I will create what I create, and my creations will bring abundance to me, whether it's somebody giving me food to eat, or whether it's, you know, a couch to sleep on, or this, right? And we all have this ability. If we all do this, we take back our autonomy, we take back the autonomy of the world, you know? So, like, yeah, it would be psychologically easier to go and get a job than to spiral and heal all of this shit. But what I'm doing is really important to me, and it's much bigger than a singular eviction or scarcity thinking. Like, I'll buy a fucking van, and me and my cats will live in the van. Like, you know, like, I don't care. I've survived up until this point. I'm gonna survive everything else. Like, I don't think that was orange I liked. It was either snot or my tears. I'm just so frustrated. I'm tired of people telling me, like, we're meant to be bugs and to just be free. And then they started another war, and it's all just so stupid. It's just like, when you literally think about it, it's just so stupid. Like, we're all fighting over invisible paper. And half the time, everything is digital. They're just sending numbers from one computer to the other computer. There's nothing tied to it. None of this shit fucking matters. Like, does it fucking matter if your car's not registered? They're gonna tow it. They take your whole car because you're not a part of because you refuse to be a part of their system. We buy a car. We work so hard to have control. And we have control over nothing. Like, buy a house. Right? Like, growing up, it was like, everyone, that's the dream. You buy a house and you get married, right? You don't even own the house because you have to pay property taxes on the house. You have to pay property taxes. You have to pay taxes on land that doesn't belong to anybody in order to sustain and keep a house that you paid for. You cannot build on your own land. If you have land, you cannot build on your land without permission. You have to go get permission from, you have to go get, contracts and get permission. It has to be built right. And I get it, right? Because these systems were set up, I don't think initially that all of these systems were made for bad, right? Like, they're made for protection. Like, some things that we have were made out of protecting people. And, right? But the thing is that, was it made for protecting people? I'm trying to think. Like, what was made for protecting people? How does property taxes protect people? I guess, like, some laws and stuff, are, like, necessary. But honestly, are they? Because people were not born, and people are gonna do things, and people are gonna do bad things, right? And, like, yeah, we'd have to, like, retrain the entire world, but isn't it worth it? Like, if our children and our children's children and their children's children get to grow up in more peace than we've ever had in this world. All this world has been is suffering. If you look through history, all it is suffering. For no reason. For no reason. Like, kings and queens playing dress up, eating people, killing people for entertainment. You said something I don't like, so get out of here. Yesterday I saw a video of a Marine speaking out saying, we don't want to go to Iran, we don't want to support Israel, and they were taking him from the courtroom, and he's he's protesting. He's saying, no, we don't want to do this. A Marine. And the court cops went and like are trying to tackle him to bring him out because he is being rambunctious. He's speaking. His arm gets stuck in the door, and you hear it pop and click because they broke his arm from trying to pull him out of the courtroom. All of the people sitting in the courtroom who were a part of that were literally just staring straight ahead. No humanity. There's no humanity in some people. And I think you have until a certain amount of time in your life, like psychologically, I took this child development class, and what they said in the child development class was like, you have until like you're 8 years old to build a conscience. And it's something that naturally comes, like our morals and stuff like that. But if you're going through a lot of trauma and abuse, if you do not develop that conscious, you never develop it. And I don't think that's true. I think we can develop it, but I think it would be very hard for someone whose nervous system had been through a lot of trauma, and through that trauma they identified with control and the abuser and not wanting to be prey again. It's a protective instinct. And mine went opposite, where I started protecting everybody else but myself, right? But there's people who, that's how we have predators, is the predators who turn to predators were because they were preyed upon, and it's a psychological thing where they don't want to be preyed upon, and they recreate their trauma. You know what I mean? And so like all the people that are in power and all of these things, you know what I mean? Like it's a never ending cycle. Like think of the families who have been in politics and like power for so long, right? They've been doing these cycles. Imagine being a child growing up in these rich families and watching your family like eat and torture and abuse children all around you. And in a lot of these stories, they traffic children and they traffic people, and they make them do these horrible things to them and participate in it so that they are safe and protected, and it ties them to the crime as well. And so some of these people that are in power were forced into doing these things. It's not even necessarily that they were want to. You know what I mean? And Epstein is nobody. He's like Diddy. They are not powerful. Epstein and Diddy are not powerful. They have ego inflated, which made them think that they're powerful. And like, yeah, they had power in doing all of these things, but to be sending emails like that in Gmail, you know what I mean, means that they were getting away with it and that they were protected. Obviously they're protected, but like there's people who are not named who are like the main people, like the vampires, like I wouldn't be surprised. And to think about it, I know people are like, fuck men, blah, 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 right? But honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if there is a woman behind all of this as well. Like women use men as their bodies. Like women can be very manipulative. And like, yeah, men can know that too. You know what I mean? But like, it's just a thing. Like people are always like, oh yeah, it's the men doing all these things. It's the women too. My mom was groomed by her mother. The women, like, groomed by her mother so that her husband would abuse her. Like women are not like, it's a people thing, but women can be especially dangerous as well, because people don't expect women to be like this. And that's why these men grow up like this, doing all these crimes and doing these sexual crimes and stuff like this too, is because a lot of the times who's raising the children? Mothers. And if we have unhealed mothers and unhealed fathers, and everyone's just, you know what I mean? Like, it's just a lot deeper. And it's not that people are evil, it's these systems and this dysregulation that's evil, and we can get really caught in like blaming a person, but it's not that singular person. It's everything that happened to that person up until that point, that happened to the person who raised that person, who happened to the person, to all of the people who are around that one person. It is not that person. You know, like when I was really into true crime, I always said, like, whenever somebody was arrested, I feel like their parents should be arrested too, because the reason why your child turned out that way is because of something you did. And parents don't want to look at this, right? Like, they want to be like, oh, I did the best that I could. I did the best that I could. You did the best with you could inside of this system, but it doesn't mean that you weren't flawed and that you didn't fuck up, and that your lack of love or your over love or like whatever turned this human into doing these things. And I'm not like trying to blame parents, but I'm saying that there's no way you just grow up and do horrible things and your environment had no play in that. It's just impossible. And yeah, something minor can happen to somebody, and how that responds in their traumatic body can change and alter them tremendously. And we can have 12 people go through, we could have like 100 people go through the same exact thing, and every single person is going to process it different, and the trauma in their bodies. And if we watched how that one trauma, played out in all of these different people. But it's not the person. It's not Jeffrey Epstein. It's the people who gave him the power and the money and all of the resources to be, he's like a DJ, not a DJ, like, those people. Jeffrey Epstein is like those people that hype up the parties, that like go around and like, yeah, like, let's get this party started. And like, when I was in my 20s, this was very popular. It's like a club something, but they'd go around, promoter. That's what Jeffrey Epstein is. A promoter. That's what Diddy is. He's a promoter. Those aren't the people in charge that are doing everything. Those are the promoters. You will never know or see unless we get deep down into this. But yeah, it's so much deeper. But yeah, fuck these systems, and no, I'm not getting a job.